All
Do
right.
your thing.
And okay, well, what's your cheers?
Cheers is to you and to this show, and let's see what happens, man. This might be a hell of a time either way. Let's see how now.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, that'll do it.
So dramatic. Here we go. Okay,
Yep.
so you think you want to be a roadie, hit the road with a music legend or two? Well, we'll see. I love to watch Lamb of God side stage. It's fun to watch him go. But usually, for a good amount of the set, I'm smiling ear to ear, just watching my guy friend on deck behind Art on the drums, just being the most dialed in tech on stage that I've ever seen. Drum tech,
Thank you.
that is. Welcome to the
Yes.
Scandalous podcast. One of my favorite people in the world, Patrick King, aka King. How are you doing?
Smattering of applause. I'm doing great.
Yeah.
I'm doing great. Just home from, we just finished out that tour with Pantera camp, and it was a good run. Had a lot of great times, and I got to mark off another bucket list venue, which was fantastic. So I think I'm done with bucket list venues. I think I've got them all now. But
I
yeah,
thought you were making a joke about her retiring. I was like,
yeah, I'm
no, I'll
done.
see you in Austin in like 6 months. Like, no.
Yeah, I'm
No,
not
no,
done
no,
yet.
no,
No.
no. You're not retiring. Don't be
No, I'm
silly.
still going to taint this industry with my presence as long as I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything's been great. Like I say, just got home. What was it? Shit, I don't remember when I got home. Not that many days ago, but went straight, like, finished up my shit, got home, threw the car into the shop, and then went and did a gig with a buddy of mine here in Texas, and it was great, And then
Yeah.
you just kind of right back into it. So I finally got to sleep like yesterday, I think, which was great for like an extended period of time, which was lovely.
So
Yeah,
I want to talk about the Madison Square Garden
yeah,
show. Everyone was posting about it. I wasn't in New York at the time. I was in Texas, but I felt the gravity of all of that, and
oh
I
yeah.
just really loved watching all the posts on social media from all of you guys. So what did that mean to you? What was
Yeah,
it
for
like?
me, that was that. Like I said, the last of the bucket list venues that I've got, and I've had the opportunities to do several of those venues over the course of my career, as it were. And this one I hadn't done yet, and it was really a special thing for me. For one, to do that particular venue because it is Madison Square Garden, but also to be able to pay respect to Diamond Vince there at that particular venue was huge for me. It was like that's just something that I always wanted for them. And this, in a way, posthumously, we got to do that, and it was a emotional but wonderful show for me and some other friends that were there in the building that night. And yeah, it was awesome. I loved it, and to play in front of that crowd and to see the band just on top of their game, it was fantastic. Loved it. Loved every minute of it.
Yeah. And it's such a testament to our people and our industry. And
Yeah.
it's like a win for the metalheads, because so
Yeah.
many like mainstream people and like mainstream games happen there and things like that. But we don't always get to play there. Like my favorite bands don't always get to go there and play
Right.
there and like
Right.
take on that stage. So just thinking about that many Pantera fans and that many Lamb of God fans, like filling up Madison Square Garden
Oh
is
yeah.
just undeniably a beautiful thing and such a win for metalheads in our
Oh,
community.
absolutely. Absolutely. And everybody was just to see that many people there and just letting loose and letting all their emotion out and enjoying the show and that with the tribute stuff that the Pantera camp does and everything else. And just everybody was going for it, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Good to see,
Yeah,
like you said, our folks out there doing their thing and
it
enjoying it in that,
is.
that venue. Yeah,
Yeah, and
it
it's
was
all the
great.
people. And if you're in the industry at all, it's basically, very small and you've seen the same people for years. So it's like seeing your friends that you've known for a really long time win. And that's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
cool. I
exactly
love
right.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
me too. And I saw this really cool video. I love men who are men. I think they're wonderful creatures. Like, I hate being
Hmm.
alpha. Like, I'm alpha all the time, but I just love to be beta and just like watch a man go. And it was so fun watching you with like the sticks and your big knife,
Oh
just
yeah.
slicing the sticks. I was like, what a man. But I've never seen that. But I've never
So
seen that before. Like, where does that come from?
that came from when I was working for Vinny. He had like just the way he liked to play his sticks. He played them backwards for one. You know, he could have used like the blunt end sticks, but he didn't. He just liked to hold them backwards, and part of it was because like when you get towards the end of the stick and it tapers off, you know, you're a little bit too far, re-grab, re-step, whatever. But he liked that. Plus, he liked the sound of it. It just sounds fucking killer when you're beating drums with that heavy ass stick. And for that particular show, or excuse me, rewinding it a bit further. When he first told me when I started working for him, he was showing me how to cut the sticks and how Cat used to cut them. And he was like, I need you to do this and I need you to get it right because, if it's off, then they'll just be slippery and it'll suck. So I got it nailed down and everything. And I can't tell you how many thousands of those damn things I've cut. That night, though, for Madison Square Garden, I always keep some of any sticks with me, like on the road. It's like a good luck thing. And I thought, what better? I normally don't carve them. I'll just leave them whole, and they ride with me. But this time, I was like, I got to prep him one for the show. I have to. And so many people have asked me how I do it, what I do, and that's why I went ahead and did the video of me cutting it up because that was, one, because people wanted to ask how did I do it, and two, I did it because it was an homage to Vince, and it was for that venue, for him. Say, hey, buddy, you got here, So we did it, that kind of thing. So yeah, it meant a lot to me to be able to carve his stick. And still have it, still stays with me. Only now it's carved up.
That's beautiful. So, did you give it to Art or to Charlie to play with? Did you give them one to play with?
No, I did not. But at the beginning of the tour, not this last cycle, but the one before that, the leg before that, when we first went out with Pantera, the first day that we did a show, I gave one to Charlie. I carved him one and gave it to him. And told him, I said, I think you need to have this. Yeah. And he was thankful for that. So
That's so emotional.
yeah, it was good. And I thought it was a good way to kick off the tour for me, and out of the entire meaning of it. So,
I'm not even emotional or not anywhere close to my period. I shouldn't cry for no reason, but I'm like, oh my God, that makes me tear up.
yeah.
I'm like,
There's certain times it happens.
I'm not close to any hormonal thing where I would just tear up for no reason. I was like, oh, that caught me right there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. That's really special. Wow.
Yeah.
Very
I've been presented
cool.
with a lot of that thanks to Vince. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Vinny and the Hell Yeah camp and Bright Dog and everybody. So I'm very grateful for that.
I know. I totally I haven't seen Cat in years, and you said Cat, and I was like, oh my God, Cat.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yep.
Have you? When was the last time you saw him?
Let's see.
Dallas show?
Christmas.
Yeah.
Like we had Rita had a gathering over at her place and over at the Fortress.
Yeah.
And I went over there and hung out, and Kat was being one of the elves with the gift exchange stuff and, helping out and telling everybody what was amazing about the gifts that were there in the very Cat way that he does. And it was fantastic. Yeah.
Random question, but it's so obvious you would forget to ask, but what Pantera songs mean the most to you?
Oh, well, that's a good question. Well, there's so many because whenever I was growing up here in Arlington, there was that was the local band that was doing really well and always playing and always doing stuff. So there's been many songs over the years from even their earlier albums all the way up till, the last. So I think for me, the songs, Cowboys always holds a fucking higher ranking mark for my book as far as all their stuff goes. Primal Concrete Sledge, fantastic. That one's amazing. Power Metal from the Power Metal album. That one was amazing too. Cemetery Gates has a whole fucking new meaning now, than it used to. So that one always, sticks out as well. But there's so many great stuff.
Wait, hold on. I never thought of that. Is that because they passed?
Yeah.
I never thought, which obviously it is, but I never thought of that having more.
Yeah, it hit me,
Wow, I
Like
never thought
it was
about
a
that.
great song. Yeah, it was a great song before, and
Mhm.
then when I heard it after Dime was killed, it was like a punch in the gut. And then
Mhm.
once Vince was gone, it was the same thing all over again. But it was just like, damn it. But now it's just it's
Even
seriously
more
special
so.
meaning. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you really like that song that Nickelback did?
Mm-hmm. I did.
I love that song. Like
Yep. Side of a bullet,
such
right?
yep, such a
Yep.
good song. Like
Yeah. And Chad and Vince were good friends too, and it was good to see that they they jumped on that one, and when they put it out, it was heartfelt for them
mhm.
as well as for us to hear it. And then when I saw Chad at Vince's funeral, just it was I know how hard that was for him. So
Yeah.
it was it's good. They did a great job with it. They really did a great
Mhm.
job with that song.
I wanted to ask, were you at the Dallas Hell Yeah show where it was Hell Yeah Nonpoint? Were you working that show?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Kiss hooked me up for it, Hate Breeds TM, and he was doing
Yep.
monitors. So I was like stage left, and that show was really crazy emotional because I was stage left, and like during the Vinny and Dime tribute, Tom walked, I was on his side of the stage, so he walked over, and the way he was just bawling
Yeah.
during, like, he was just like, he fucking lost it. He really did.
Yeah.
And that was so emotional. And then Chad, like, played a show in Oklahoma City that same night, got
Hmm.
off stage, went straight to a limo, had his limo, like, paid him a bunch of money to speed down to Dallas so he could make it for the show.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so he was there. It was in the air tonight. Like, it was in the air. And that combo of, like, non-point, when all the bands play together for a song, I think
Hmm.
it was Walk or something like that. It was just like one of the most incredible things I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
It was in Dallas at the House of Blues.
Yep.
One of the most incredible scenes I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah. That was a great show. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere around here, some weird ass photos from that one, just because everybody was so full of emotion and everything else, and it
Uh
was
huh.
just great. And
Yeah.
I remember that night whenever we were talking about what our normal lead-in song was, and I don't remember what the fuck it was now. But I told him I told our front of house guy, I was like, do me a favor. Oh, it was Kiss. I'll go, do me a favor, buddy. I
Yeah.
go, whenever we do this, do the Dallas Stars fucking theme.
Aw.
And he was
Yeah.
like, yeah. I was like, yeah. And I told our lighting guy, I said, just do green and white lights on the stage. Let's start this whole thing off with that chant and let's go. So that's what we did, and it was awesome.
So we initially met a million years ago, but we didn't know each other back then. We figured out that we knew each other a
Right,
million years ago from a million years ago, whatever. But,
right.
you know, how did you first end up working for Vinny? How did that all happen?
It was kind of interesting. The buddy of mine that I had grown up with was a comedian. I guess he still is. I don't really know. We don't talk anymore. But he's a comedian, and we separated after a few years. Life takes you one way and takes him another. But I knew at the Hell Yeah first CD release party, a buddy of mine called me up and he's like, "Hey, they're doing this CD release party or record release party out there at the clubhouse. You want to go?" And I thought, you know what, my buddy Mark will be out there. It'd be good to see him again. So we go out there, we're hanging out, and I ended up running into my buddy Mark again. And at the time, he was going by his stage name and everything. And he actually saw me first, which is kind of funny because he walked up and he addressed me. He called me Pat. So he's like, "Pat King," and I was like, "All right, man, what's going on, Mark?" And he was like, "You still play guitar?" I was like, "Yeah, I still do." And he was like, "Would you be interested in coming on the road with me and playing like song parodies and shit at some of my shows?" I was like, "Sure." So that's how I got started with him. And then as I was working on his show with him, we started adding more stuff, which was like me in costume dressed as a ninja since he was an Asian comic. He thought it was funny. And so I was doing that. Then we started adding lighting and sound effects and all this other shit to his show and made it bigger and bigger. And so it looked more like a concert than it did just a comedy show. And Vinny would come out to the shows since they were friends. And as the more time grew, it got to where Vinny was really liking what we were doing with the show. And at one point he comes up, he goes, man, I think this thing's got legs. You guys interested in taking this thing to Vegas? We're like, fuck yeah. So he got us a room out there in Vegas to do the show at, a showroom that another act was in. And we shared the stage with those guys and, flip-flop nights or later times or earlier times, whatever. Did the show out there for like 5 months. This place called the Greek Isles Hotel and Casino. So in between that time, Vinny also had a house in Vegas. So half the time we're at the hotel, half the time we're at Vinny's house. So I got to know Vinny that way. And then, really got to know him that way. And then came back home for like a couple of weeks, went back out and did the show at the Hard Rock for like 3 months. And when the show came to an end, I told Vinny and Brad, I was like, if you guys ever need somebody on the road, let me know. And 2 months later, they called me up and said, hey, our singer's looking for an assistant. You interested? So, sure. So went out, talked to Chad over at Vinny's house in Arlington here. And we hung out for a while and talked. I kept looking at my watch. He's like, motherfucker, you got somewhere to be? I was like, well, yeah, I got to be at work at 5 a.m. He's like, oh, shit. All right, cool. Go do your thing. He goes, this fucker's responsible. What the fuck? Okay. So I went to work, came back the next day, talked to him some more. He hired me and went on the road with them for like a year and a half. And then whenever Kat left the camp, we had a couple of fill-in guys, one that finished the last part of the European tour, and this other guy who just so happens to be Mikey B, who was Lamb of God's tech, odd tie-in, finished out the rest of the U.S. run on that one. So the next album cycle, Mikey B had to go back to Lamb of God, and Vinny called me up one day, him and Brydog, and Vinny goes, you up for a challenge? I was like, yeah, you training me? Jokingly. He goes, yep, be at the house at 6. I was like, oh, shit. All right. So went
6
over there.
Wait, hold on. AM or PM?
No, PM.
Like
PM.
Vinny's
No,
not
yeah.
an earlier riser. I'm like,
No.
whoa.
He was, yeah. At that time, he might have been going to bed, but yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah, 6 p.m., I get over there, and he's got this kit set up in the living room, and
Yeah.
he's like, all right, you're going to go in there, and you're going to get that thing in your head, and when you're done, this other dude's going to take it all apart and move it around. You're going to put it back together. So when you get done and you get it in your head, come back in the kitchen. We're going to talk. So I go back in the kitchen. We're sitting there talking. He's pouring them up. I'm like, all right, cool. He's telling me about the gig. We do some shots. Go back in there, put the kit together. That's a good call. I think I will. Well, I'm
Well,
telling
you
you
said
this.
shots, and I had a little bit left. I had been waiting for it.
Hell, might as well kill this too. Cheers.
Hey, cheers.
So yeah, I go back in there and reset the kit up, and over and over again until he had me separating the kit and then go back in. But he'd look at it in between times, like, all right, this is right, this is wrong, this is too tight, this needs to be, closer to me, whatever. And in between all these times, we're going back in the kitchen and doing shots and talking. So about somewhere between 5 and 7 shots. I was like, dude, he's like, all right, man, you got the gig. We're going to Australia in 3 days and we're going to fucking do this, man. It's going to be great. I'm like, all right, cool. I go, Vinny, why'd you get me drunk? He goes, man, if you can do this job when you're drunk, you goddamn sure do it when you're sober. I was like, fair enough. And that was kind of the way of life back then with that particular camp is drinking was just kind of, if there were a contract, it was in it. So we just did, it was a good time and a hell of a way to get started in this whole menagerie of stuff that we do.
A golden era, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A golden era.
I kind of miss that. I've always said that whenever everybody started getting sober, I'm glad they did. I'm happy for them. But there was like the last 2 guys standing that were the last of the heavy metal god type mentality and, boozing and partying and all that shit or whatever, having a good time, which were the last 2 standing was Lemmy and Vinny. So, when Lemmy died, it was just Vince was the last one standing and all of our shit, like people would even ask me, like, I'm sure all the lights you see in the bus and all that shit just gets turned off during the day. I was like, no, it doesn't. It stays on all the fucking time. There's always music going. There's always shit. It's always loud. It's always crazy. And that was just the way we lived, and it was great. And again, I'm very happy when everybody had to turn their page their own way. But I do miss that to an extent. My liver might not, but the rest of me does.
I think that's mainly when I learned about Pedialyte. Like I learned
Yeah.
Pedialyte from them.
Yep.
It's like a man's garage.
Yeah,
Like
like the
80s
centerfold taken
debauchery.
out and hung up, and
Yeah, centerfolds everywhere. It's like a man's car garage, you know.
yeah, it's a rolling
Just
man cave.
yeah. It very much was like that with like lights and like what else would you expect from a strip club owner? I mean,
Exactly. It did. It looked like fucking Spencer's exploded in there, and it was like lasers and all kinds of crazy lights, and of course the beast, the white bus, had the chandelier in it, and
mhm.
then the gray bus. I mean, diamond plated floors and fucking craziness everywhere, crazy pictures and weird shit, and
Yeah,
just
and in Texas like I forget which one was Silver Vinny's bus.
hmm well, they
Okay.
both were.
Oh
Vinny owned
yeah,
both of them.
they're Vinny's buses. But
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't remember which one like he rode on. But then I remember like throughout Texas, he would have his bus, and then he would have the friend bus.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
like he'd have like all the friends roll through Texas like along. He'd be like, oh yeah, this is the bus for me. This is the bus for my friends.
Yep.
That was good
And he had
times.
like Vinny didn't smoke or anything, and he didn't care for like cigarette smoke and stuff like that. So uh, when I first started out with him, we had the two buses going. So people that would smoke or that did at the time would ride on one bus, and the people that didn't would ride on the other one. And then eventually they were just like, "Well, this is kind of ridiculous. We'll just tell people they can't smoke on the bus," and we combined it down to one.
And that's economics for you.
Exactly. It makes way more sense financially
Yep.
to be in one bus.
Yeah, totally. Well,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Gas prices were a little bit easier back then too. I
Oh yeah.
remember from those days for sure than they
Yeah.
are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as crazy as it is today. So that's for sure.
We're already talking about nostalgia, but I was thinking about, and doing research for this interview, and I went back and listened to the first Hell Yeah record. All the memories like started flooding back.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah,
Same. And
for
even though I
sure.
wasn't with them when that first album came out, because they played those songs so much over the years, they still, like you said, that time of your life and the memories that come with, I try to keep as many of the good memories, not the hungover ones and the ones of, crawling around in the
Yeah.
parking lot throwing up. That was terrible too. But some of the really great stuff that kind of went with that was incredible.
Yeah.
I miss those times and the the weirdness. Don't get me wrong. I came out of like corporate America when I started doing this shit. So
Yeah.
it was like a night and day slap in the face of, oh fuck, here's what your life's going to be like now. But that
Party.
song still, yeah,
Party.
yeah,
Party.
it's party all the time. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
where's so and so? I don't know. That there's a chalk outline of them down there in the in the basement. I'm like, oh fuck, we probably ought to go get them then. Yeah.
So you're from Arlington. I'm a Dallas girl.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was doing research for this interview, I first wrote like a basic normal interview. And then kind of like I was talking about on the phone with you earlier, I have a pass wall and I never really look at it, but it's like in my bathroom. It's just this cute little installation in my bathroom. But I looked up
Right.
and I never really look at it, but I had all these like family values tour
Mm-hmm.
passes and all these hell yeah passes. And then I was like, wait, this is part of my history too. And this was
Yeah.
part of my life. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
just and this is what I wrote.
Well,
This
little
is what
something. Here it goes.
look over here. Okay, you're from Arlington. I'm a Dallas girl, and when I was younger, I always wanted to tour, which is true. I always wanted to tour. I ended up doing press, but I wanted to be a tour manager. So the first Hell Yeah show I ever went to, I met their tour manager, Double A. And he knew I wanted to tour and be in the business. So he took me
Yep.
under his wing, and I would go back, wink, wink, go back to his hotel room with him. And we would break out the tour Bible and we would route. And we would order room service, and he would show me like how to do the writers, and he would show me how to do contracts, and he would show me how to do all these like wonderful things. And like from those times, like I even had like little room service, like little bottles and stuff I saved because it was like such a magical
That's awesome.
time. Like I have these little like minis from room service just from these
Yeah,
cool ass times of their tour manager showing me everything he had. And
that's cool.
yeah, it meant so much to me. And that happened to me when I was like 20 and 21 years old. And
Hmm.
I'm older now and I forgot about that part of my life.
And all that
Yeah.
shit just comes rushing back to you, and you're like, yeah, that was fucking awesome. And just
Mhm.
remembering that and the good feeling that you had from that, and like you said, hopping into whenever they send you a vehicle, golf cart, go kart, all that shit, and it's
Yeah.
just fun. It's like cool. On my way, and you kind of zooming past everything and the fences and seeing everybody, and your hair's blowing in the wind. It's like, well, not my hair, but your hair. But it's fantastic, man. It's awesome.
Dave Grohl does it now, but
Oh
Vinny did
yeah,
it first. He fed
yeah.
everyone. Like if you're ever at a show or ever backstage at a festival, everyone is just clamoring to go to Vinny's party and everyone is clamoring
Yeah.
to go to the Hell Yeah camp. And it's like chicken or steak,
Oh
pork or
yeah.
beef. What do you want? What's the best thing you ever had that Vinny made?
Oh Jesus. The poppers were fantastic. That's like a
The
lot of so many
jalapeno
people go back
poppers.
to the jalapeno poppers. But and we what would happen was we would go to like a festival like say Cadott, Wisconsin, and go do that big ass festival there. And on the way in, like we're gonna get there early. We leave early from the last one so we can get to like Walmart or Costco or whatever the next day and just go buy like $1,500 worth of shit to come in and cook for everybody. And everybody gets up, and Tom's being a prep cook with Vinny, and Braddock's working on shit, and he's getting stuff going, and everybody's got their part. They're doing stuff. Kyle was up making stuff, and everybody's just getting
Wow.
all this shit ready to go. And we got trays upon trays, and the fucking fridge is like just overflowing with food. And they'd go out there, and he'd start cooking, and we'd take the break, go up, do the set, come back, go back to cooking. But and everybody's stopping by. If they were done with their show, they came over. If they were going to their show, as soon as they were off stage, they came over. And he's not just feeding like musicians and shit. He's got local hands, fire, EMS, the police, everybody stopping by, and it's cool because you'll look up and you'll see these guys getting their food, and next to them is like Miles Kennedy and Slash, and everybody's just grabbing food and going for it, and it's just a big community thing. But there's no bullshit, no rock stardom, no nothing. It's just like let's fucking have a great time and have a cookout, And
Yeah.
he always took care of everybody because he loved to see people happy, and I love that. I mean,
I'm
it
glad
still
you
should happen. I'm glad Dave Grohl still does it. That's badass. And he's a
Yeah.
badass cook, too.
And he cooks just like for 24 hours at a time sometimes. It's really
Yeah. Yeah.
incredible what he
It's
does.
fun. But yeah, some of the dishes Vince had come up with, there's, it depends. I remember somebody, I will keep them nameless, too. But I remember him saying, I go, he goes, what are you eating over there? He goes, oh, it doesn't matter. Just add a bunch of spices and call it kick ass. I was like, that's hilarious.
Well,
But
that's a
yeah,
good
some of the,
story. Like who said
yeah.
that? Who would
Uh,
who would care if you shared that? That's just a
uh,
cute story.
yeah, I would just say it's someone on the inner circle. But
And I'm like,
yeah. Oh, but going back
yeah.
to some of the things he made, like he'd do the jalapeno poppers, but he'd change them up a lot. And like he'd come up to you and he wouldn't tell you what it was. He's just like, eat this, try this. I was like, Pete, try this. I was like, all right, it looks like shit. What is that? He's like, I could tell it's jalapeno and it's got the cream cheese and the bacon around it, but then he'd throw in like crunchy peanut butter over the top of it, a little bit of barbecue sauce on it, and then jelly over the top of that, or jalapeno jelly. And then you ate it and you're like, this looks like it should be disgusting, but it's the greatest thing I've ever eaten. It was just all the different
It
textures
just
and
worked.
tastes. Oh, it was a magical thing.
I
So
love
those are
that.
still a favorite for sure. The Grand Black Bus.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because we were finishing up a tour. We had, let's see, Calgary, Spokane, something like that, some other date. And we were on the way between Edmonton and Calgary, and the bus caught fire.
Are
And
you
you
talking
heard,
about with Hell Yeah?
yeah, with hell yeah.
Okay, you were just in Calgary, so I was like, wait, just making sure this isn't Lamb of
Oh yeah,
God.
yeah.
This is
Not with Lamb.
okay.
Not with Lamb.
Wait, I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, because you
Yeah,
just were
I've
in
had so
Calgary.
far. I've had good luck so far with that. Whatever, but
Yeah.
we had yeah, we were going from Edmonton to Calgary, and in the middle of nowhere, somewhere in between it, the bus got fired. So
Oh my God.
everybody's filing off the bus, and there's smoke everywhere, and Vinny's laughing his ass off. People are like, "Vinny, what the fuck are you laughing for?" He goes,
Like,
"Man,
my
you can't write
laptop's on
comedy."
there.
Yeah, he goes, "You can't." He goes, "You can't write comedy like this." So, I had to run back in, shirt over my face to go wake up Brad Dog because he was still on his bunk, passed out, and I was
Oh
like,
my
"Fuck!"
God.
So I went and got him up, and we got off the bus, but we ended up getting the fire out and all of that shit, and then we still had like headlights, taillights, and the engine worked. We didn't have anything else. So we made it to Calgary, but by the time we did make it to Calgary, it was like 33 below in the bus. It was fucking freezing. So for that reason alone, I dislike the cold. Yeah. No mas. No mas.
When you
Yeah,
started
yeah.
talking about it, I was like, oh, I remember this story.
Yeah. I much prefer to tour when it's warm.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
That's scary. So Bride Dog was still on the bus. That's
Yeah, yeah.
scary.
Yeah. So, but he made it off. We all made it off of there. And everything was okay, just freezing.
Yeah.
But yeah, but
And
we made it to Calgary and did the show, so that worked out.
always professionals. Yeah,
Got to do what you got to do to make the show happen.
absolutely. And one other funny memory I just wanted to bring up and pay homage to was the clubhouse.
Oh yeah,
So it was tradition. If you played a show in Dallas for years and years and years, and it's sad Vinny passed and the club has been sold, but it was
right.
this fabulous tradition in Dallas. And I always had friends in town, and if you had friends in town, they were playing, everyone's going to the clubhouse after. And all
Yep.
you have to do is flash your laminate and you get in for free, and just good times. And Vinny was
Oh yeah.
there a lot of times at his table, so Vinny had his table, but just the best times happened at the clubhouse. And
Oh yeah.
everyone went. It was
Oh yeah.
it was what
It
you
was it
did.
was always cool. Like the times when I was there, that you never knew who was going to walk through the door. And if you heard somebody's in town, the chances are, yeah, you're going to see them come through that door
Yeah.
after their show. And everybody had a blast. Yeah, probably some
Mm-hmm.
of them had more of a blast than I'll ever have, but I'm sure they had a great time, and I'm happy that they did.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, it was a tradition thing. People just, if you're there, you swing by there. Somebody had asked me recently, I forgot who the fuck it was, but they had asked me like, yeah, we were going to go over to the clubhouse. I was like, I wouldn't do that now because it's not the clubhouse anymore.
No. Yeah,
But
it's not the clubhouse anymore. Yeah.
yeah, things have changed. They're like, when did that happen? I was like, man, where you been?
Have this really cute, I just think it's this gorgeous, fabulous Vinnie Paul memory.
Mm-hmm.
I always loved Lacey Sturm, and I have to get her on the podcast, and I've been trying for years, and I'm going to do it. I
Mm-hmm.
believe in myself. But I listened to an interview she did with Rockfeed recently, and
Mm-hmm.
she talked about, and I didn't know this, but she talked about how much she loved Pantera when she was younger. And
Mm-hmm.
you just like wouldn't assume that about her. And she was like, oh my God, and I always loved Pantera. And I was like, oh my God, that's so funny. Because one
Yeah, yeah,
time remember the Verizon theater festivals?
yeah.
I forget what they're called. What are they called? Do you remember?
I don't recall what they called
But
it.
I was hanging out with Vinny and we were walking around, and then he saw Lacey and he goes, hey, in his perfect Vinnie Paul stature and way, which was so funny. Just his Vinnie Paul way. It was like, hey
Yeah.
there, I know you got the whole Christian thing going on, but we're all going to the clubhouse after, so you're more than welcome to come on by if you want to come on by. We'd love to have you. And that's just him being Southern and inviting.
Yeah, of course.
No, but it's so funny because he's like, hey, I know you have the whole Christian thing going on.
Yeah. I know you're
But do
doing
you
all
want
of
to?
that, but come
I
on
know you're doing
over.
all that, but come on down to the strip club. Well, we'd
Come
love to
see
have
some
you.
tits. It's going to be great.
Yeah, for sure. And I, at the time, thought that, oh my God, she must be like, oh my God. Listening to that interview, I remember that time and just being there and being like, oh my God, that's so funny. But then I realized, I was like, oh wow, I bet that was really cool for her. And I didn't know that. I just assumed she would be like
Yeah.
horrified or mortified or whatever, but
Yeah.
apparently she like really loved Pantera. So I bet that was like actually like really cool for her. And
Yeah,
it
that's
totally changed
badass,
how
actually.
I thought that was. I thought that interaction would be her like going, "Oh, yeah, no thanks, whatever." But I thought
Yeah.
that was like pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
That is
yeah.
that is cool. When you think about it from that standpoint, if you're a fan of somebody and then you find yourself in that moment, that's just got to be, I'm sure there's a part of you that's like, there's the other part that's just like, yeah, I appreciate that. That's cool. Thanks. You're trying to play it off and,
So, one thing I wanted to talk about that Kiss told me about
uh,
that was happening, and it was Roy came on as the replacement drummer for Vinny and Hell Yeah. And
right.
I don't remember if it was like rehearsals for the tour or rehearsals for the Dallas show, but I think
Uh-huh.
it was like the first time that they opened up Vinny's drum kit. And I don't know if Roy played with his own kit, but they were opening up Vinny's kit. And they found inside like 3 dimes heads up.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Do you remember that?
I don't remember that particular instance, but I vaguely remember something about it, but I can tell
Mm-hmm.
you that the dimes showing up is a very, very real thing. And it's not just like, oh, you only counting it because it's dimes and there's quarters and all this other shit. Nope,
Yeah.
not at all. Nope, it's
No, there's
dimes.
just dimes.
And that happened to me when I first started working for them because I was so like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, because shit was
Mm-hmm.
so just backwards ass crazy from what I was used to that I would question myself sometimes, like, why am I doing this? And I'd open my curtain and there's a fucking dime on the floor. So I was like, at first I was just like, okay, sure, whatever. Put it in my pocket, whatever. Going about my day. Next day, dime. I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Wow.
Third day, I was like, there's no dimes on here. Good. So I go walking off the bus, open the door on the ground in front of me, dime. I'm like, God damn it. Okay, I get it. I'm supposed to be here.
Uh-huh.
Understood.
Yeah.
And even the people like Luke, who's our merch guy, he was skeptical of that shit too. He didn't normally believe in shit like that. And after Vincent died, we were talking about it, and he calls me. I was up on stage putting stuff away, and he calls me, and he's like, "Hey, P, where are you at?" I said, "I'm putting stuff on stage, away on stage." He goes, "Can you come down to the merch booth?" I was like, "Sure." So I'm walking towards the merch booth, and he goes, "Stop." And he's probably, I don't know, 15 feet from me. I go, "What?" He goes, "They just swept him off this whole fucking thing." He goes, "Look down." Done. I'm like, Jesus Christ. There it is. There you have it.
Mm-hmm.
You get those winks and the nods to let them, from those guys to tell you that everything's all right and you're where you're supposed to be. And it's just kind of one of those things. That being said, um, after Vince had passed, the first people that had taken me back out was Black Label Society. So I had flown up to a very short jaunt up to Oklahoma City. I was supposed to meet them there, but their bus had died on when they were in Lincoln, Nebraska. So I had to hop on Corrosion's bus, go up to meet them in Wichita, Kansas, and then come back down to do the Oklahoma City show the next night. And a replacement bus had showed up, and I walked up on the bus, and all that, how bunk alley is, it's just curtains and shit. There was one curtain open with one light on in the whole fucking bunk alley area. And I walked back there, they're like, that's going to be your bunk. And then I looked at the sheets that are on it, and there were Dallas Cowboy sheets. And Phil, Zach's guy, looks over at me. He goes, "You see that there? You're supposed to be here." I was like, God, just randomly showed up with Dallas Cowboy sheets. And that was the only one in the bus that had that shit. I was just like,
Wow.
okay, weird shit is happening. But all right.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Wow.
and luckily they had always had like these things that they released that has, Dime's picture on it for whenever he does In This River. So when I started with them, I got to be the first one to release the Vinny one, and that was huge, you know. And it's cool. I remember Jeff Fabs looking at me. He's like, "You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good. I got this. I'm fine." And I released it. I'm like, "I'm good." As soon as I went to go step down off the little step ladder thing, you heard the crowd just go, "Wah!" I was like, "Nope, done." You know,
Aww.
it just waterfalls and shit. But it was good. So
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten real lucky with the bands I've been with that they all knew those guys too. So they've all been very understanding when it comes to stuff that has to deal with them, with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even Randy had called me up before the Pantera thing hit and told me, he was like, here's what's happening. Wanted to talk with you about it. And I was like, that's, I understand. I appreciate you calling me. Let me know. He said, the band have talked. If you want to bow out of this, we perfectly understand. It's no harm, no foul. You can come back when it's all said and done, but it's your call, whatever you want to do. And I go, you know what? I appreciate that. And because you called me personally to talk to me about this, I'll not only support you 100%, but I'll be there for you 100%. And let's fucking go do this. And we knocked it out, and it was good. Met
Yeah.
with a lot of criticism, but it was very good. Criticism by people who couldn't understand why I would do something like that. But I was like, you gotta look at it from a different perspective. So, but it was good.
Well, and I bet a lot of people who had nothing to do with it anyways.
There's that too. Yeah.
There's that, but also to the people that have arguments, valid or not, I've never understood if you've ever been to a Black Label Society show and you've ever, Zach travels with I can only assume it's a insane, what does he travel with? What kind of piano is that?
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what exactly the brand of it is, but yeah, he has his own,
It's an
like a bait.
outrageously
Yeah.
nice piano that
Yeah.
is
It's like a
not
baby
easy.
grand. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was like such an overly used term. I didn't know if I would make myself sound silly by saying that because it was the only piano word I knew, or
Oh, no, no,
not.
you're fine. You're good.
But anyone who has ever been to a Black Label Society show and has watched Zach perform in this river, he was Dime's best friend. I personally never got to see Pantera, so I never got to see Phil. I've always, always, like, I've seen Phil with different bands, but like, I never got to see Phil doing a Pantera song ever in my life. So I don't know if
Hmm.
that's selfish of me or not.
Yeah,
But
I
come
know what you mean.
on.
Yeah, the cool thing is that the first time I remember us doing a show, and you look out and there's 19,000 people in the audience with of all ages, and the ones who are parents have brought their kids. I even saw grandparents and grandkids, and they're all getting to hear this. Granted, they didn't get to hear it with the original four, but they got to hear it, and they got to hear it live, and by
Yeah.
people who loved and respected Diamond Vinny. So it was good to see. And the bottom line for me was, for the people that I did get criticism from about, how Vinny felt and this and that. And I was like, yeah, I get that. I understand that. I said, but these guys are literally paying a tribute to them with their music every day, regardless of reason. That's being done. And, tell me, for all the people that were criticizing my shit, I was just like, what are you doing every day
Mm-hmm.
for the next 2 months, 3 months to show the world that, you love Vince and Don? Oh, you're
Yep.
not doing anything? Okay, then shut the fuck up. So there it is.
And
Eat that.
it's just a gift to the world. And also people, and I hate this too. People were calling it a money grab.
Yeah.
And you know what? I love my friends. I want my friends to be rich. I want my friends to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I want, rapper, we pay insane, not we, I'm not, but
Yeah.
people pay an insane amount of money to go see Taylor Swift or Beyonce or whatever, or the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want my metal rock and roll heroes to be on the same level and have that same stature. And I want them
Absolutely.
to make an insane living. Like, I love this. I want nothing but good things for them. So for them to be like a cash grab, money grab, because that was a lot of what I saw online.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you not want the people who have like given you the best gift? Like Pantera is such a gift. Their music is such a gift to every metalhead that exists.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gift. Why would you not want to like give them everything? These people have given you everything. And like, why? I felt like there should have, if you felt good about it, bad about it, whatever, because of that music and because of like what came before it, you should have enough respect for it to just have a
Yeah.
little blind loyalty and just being like, it's Pantera, I respect it, whatever. So like
Yeah. Yeah.
less opinions
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and more
Less
respect for
opinions.
like what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's I had so many conflicting feelings in the beginning of it, and once I actually saw what was going on with it, it changed a lot of my thought processes on it, and I looked at everything from a different perspective as well. So it was cathartic in that I got to get a lot of the shit out that I've had inside that I never got to release because I was too busy taking care of things and other people and various other
Yeah.
shit. So I was able to get that out and then see this and the tribute and everything else uh, in a different light. And it was truly became a very, very good thing very quickly. And I was very happy that got the opportunity to be a part of it, and therefore other people's opinions. And I no longer gave a fuck.
Good. I'm glad.
But then again, that's just generally me anyway. I generally don't give a fuck what other people think. But you know, as far as their
Yeah.
criticisms and things.
Well, I guess I'm really nice and you really like me a lot because I feel like you give a fuck about most things. I guess that's because we're good friends.
Well, I do.
And I'm
Maybe
like,
it's
no,
just a
I'm like,
secret, and I
yeah.
really do.
And I'm like, oh, we just must know each other really well. I feel like you care about most things and you're a really stand-up guy. But
Oh, well, thank you.
also the amount of production with the current Pantera show, I feel like is a really great way to pay respect to it. Just the amount, it's like the showmanship with it.
Yeah.
And it's the full force of like the metal community and the metalheads and what we can do. I love watching that show for everything that it is, of like the graphics, the video, the fire, that really cool welded Pantera
The
thing.
big ass sign and
Yeah. I'm like, what? Yeah. I love like, and then just having like really cool fire with that insanely huge Pantera thing, whatever we call that. It just like adds to like the love. Like we really love Pantera and just giving it everything and just giving all the production you can. It's like paying respect.
yeah, yeah, it is. And everybody that was there that was working on this thing took immense pride in their work and what they did, and worked really hard every day to make sure that everybody got the best experience they could possibly get. And that was the good thing, because it was like from the Lamb side of things, that's how we are on a daily basis. I mean, you know, be it the show itself, production, or even just physically. Like if you don't feel good, it's like, well, for the next however many fucking
Yeah.
whatever our stage time is, nobody will know it because we're gonna fucking slam this thing. And that's what both of our camps did. You know, the Lamb camp, the Pantera camp, and even fucking the openers that we had out. Everybody just gave their all every day, and it was fantastic.
I love it. Yay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to making this a tech podcast. Let's talk
All
about
right.
technical fun things. Yay.
I don't know shit.
Well, I wanted to tie it back around to drum tech, Road Dog Coffee, PKING
Oh, yeah.
333 coffee.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to talk about the coffee. So tell me about the
Okay,
coffee.
yeah. Which is ironically, oddly, right here. But
okay.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How strange.
Oh, yeah.
But
Great.
yeah, we that got started. A buddy of mine had tried to get Hell Yeah into doing their own coffee thing for a while, and the whole premise behind it was it's a way to get this coffee brand out there, but also get some bands, some cash flow, just on the side if you need bus repairs or whatever, and that will help. You know, something just contribute to the band. And Hell Yeah, the guys, for whatever their reasoning, wouldn't really bite at it. So they called me back later on. The company did, the coffee company, and they're like, will you try them again? I was like, sure. So I tried them again, and still nothing. So they hit me back up again a third time. They're like, look, if you know anybody else that wants to do this, or you might be interested, send them our way. I was like, well, I got somebody. They're like, who? I said, me. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, me. They go, all right, well, what's your angle on it? I said, well, the bands always have their own shit, be it merch, be it this, be it that. I said, I want to do something that's geared towards the roadies, the road dogs. I go, they're like, okay, I like the idea. They're like, what's your thought process on it? I said, well, it's got to be bold. It's got to be strong. It's got to be dark. But I can't have it finished like a regular fucking dark coffee, which most dark coffees finish with this bitter aftertaste shit. Mine doesn't. I've been drinking coffee probably since I was 5. They say it stunts your growth. It might. But yeah, so I came up, they sent me all these different coffees out, and I was like, they're like, put your name on one or blend it or do whatever you want. And I came up with the blend that I thought I wanted because of the places I've been traveling. And I put these 3 together from 3 different places and came up with the blend. And I just so happened to be on tour when the blend first got to me. I was on tour with another band, but we were stuck up in the Hollywood Hills and for like a week while the band was doing rehearsals. And I'm like in this badass house, and I'm like, man, I gotta find some way to fucking crush these beans up. Surely they've got to have like a regular old coffee mixing, crushing thingamabob. And they didn't. And I was like, okay, well, what else do they have? Maybe they'll have a rolling pin. No rolling pin. I was like, fuck, what am I going to do with these beans? So I took 2 handfuls of beans and I threw them in like a plastic grocery bag. And I couldn't find anything to crush them with. So I used a vodka bottle and beat the shit out of it and then rolled them and beat the shit out of it, rolled it again. And I finally got it down to consistency I could brew with. And when I brewed it, the first taste, I was just like, that's it. That's the one. That's perfect. And so I called them back up and they're like asking me about, what do you want the artwork to look like? And what do you want your little mission statement on the back? And I'm like, well, give me 5 minutes. So I got on my phone and I just started like running through all this shit and sent it right back to them. They're like, fucking great. We love it. Let's put it into production. And they did. And it turned out that I did it at first because it was just kind of like funny because I was like, oh, I'll put one out there for this. And if it in the off chance it's good and people like it, then great. But I just did it for the one package, and then turns out it was great and people started buying it. And I'm like, fuck yeah. And when I first started doing this, I wasn't keeping any of the cash from it all. I was donating it to like music schools to help kids pay for lessons and shit like that. It wasn't until the pandemic shit happened that I was like, shit's getting tight. May I ought to hang on to a couple of these checks. So that's what I ended up doing. And but it's still going, and people are still buying it and loving it. And wait till I come up with a liquor, you're going to be like, dude,
Ooh.
little overstop, man, over the top.
Ooh. Nah. No, I'll just add Mio to it. I just
I like it. Yeah,
have
just do
you
that. It
have
always
you
works.
seen me with my little Mio bottles? I'm
Oh
famous
yeah.
for it. I remember it was Black Label and Obituary. And the Obituary
Mm-hmm.
guys were being so nice. And they were like, oh, we'll make you a drink. Come here, whatever. And it was like vodka soda. And I just don't drink that. I drink sweet
Yeah.
things. And I forgot my Mio. And I had to sit there and be gracious.
You're like, that's
Uh-huh.
great.
And it was because I forgot my Mio. So I had to sit
Yeah.
there and be gracious and be like, this was great, guys. Thank you. It's like, the dudes from Obituary made me these drinks. I'm not going to not drink them. Thank you so
Right.
much. It's like, yeah, but it was the worst thing
It's very
ever.
gracious and kind of you to do that and sit there and
It
do your
was
best to try and enjoy it.
it was so gracious and kind, and it was just the worst tasting thing. So I think it's really funny that my life revolves around the music industry, yet I play no instrument. So what is your history with the drums? It must be longer than I could imagine, right?
Well, not really. My brother played drums, and my nephew plays drums, and I don't.
You weren't a drummer before?
Nope, nope.
That's
I
wild.
dabble with guitar a bit, and but I was never, fantastic at it. I just play to enjoy it, and I didn't start jacking around with the drums, even with my brother being a drummer. I didn't start messing with the drums until Vinny challenged me to do it, And
Of all the
it's
reality TV shows we had on VH1, how was that not one of them? Vinnie Paul's drum tech boot camp.
who can't play worth a shit. That would
So
have been
that's how
great.
you learned. That's how you learned.
Yeah, I had to get on there. I remember that night that I was telling you about there, Vinny was, having me set up and break down the kit. He goes, "So can you play a beat?" I went, "No." He goes, "Nothing?" I go, "No."
Nope.
He goes, "We'll get around to that." All right. And then he just, but he trusted me enough to do the job he wanted me to do. And
Yeah.
then for me, it was Vince. So I'm like, I've got to do everything I can to make things right for this man every day without fail. And that's what I did. Of course, had my up and down moments, but I got better and better and better as time went by. And just the things he showed me that told me the way he wanted it is what I did for him.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's in a weird way, it was almost like it gained an advantage because I know a lot of people will unknowingly they set stuff up the way maybe they would want to do it or think that it should be done, but it's not necessarily what the artist wants. And so it's kind of like a jostling of your personal taste versus what your artist would like to have. For me, it's just
Oh yeah,
100%
that went
artist.
away.
So, for me, it was just like whatever the artist tells me they want, that's exactly what they're going to get. And until they tell me they want something different, it's going to be the same way exactly every damn time. I mean, down to even their tunings. So it's the way I got started with the tuning thing was we had gotten to Australia and I got called in to somebody goes, "Vinny's looking for you. He wants to ask you some questions." I'm like, "Sure." So I go down and his kit's set up and he goes, "Who tuned my kit?" I said, "I did." He goes, "Bullshit. Who tuned my kit?" I said, "I did." He goes, "Why are you lying to me, motherfucker? Who tuned my kit?" I said, "Dude, I swear to God, I did." He goes, "All right, Chief, then how'd you do it?" I said, "Well, I knew the dimensions on this kit here were going to be the same as your rehearsal kit in Texas. So I just recorded your rehearsal kit on my phone and I tuned it by ear." He goes, "Are you shitting me?" I go, "No, listen." So I played him back the recordings I'd made back in Texas. And he listened to it. He's like, goes through the drums. He's like, "Holy shit." And he just threw the phone at me and like turned around and walked off and he's shaking his head. I'm like, "Am I in trouble? What the fuck just happened?"
I'm confused by this story. I'm like, wait, were you in trouble or not in trouble?
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then Brydog hit me up and he goes, "Dude, what's going on?" I go, "That's what I was going to ask you." He goes, "Vinny's blown away right now." I go, "Really?" He goes, "He's never heard of anybody doing any shit like that."
Oh
I go,
wow.
"Oh, okay. Well, then I guess I get to keep my job then." Cool. And it worked out. He was,
That's
he
so
was stoked
nervous.
that,
That's so nervous.
yeah,
That's so nerve
it was
wracking.
weird because I didn't know what the fuck was happening,
Yeah.
but I still do that like to an extent. I'll take like say one of Art's drums or even if it was Jeff Fab's drums, I would listen to where they had it, where they wanted it. And then I would just listen to it on my phone. If I
Mm-hmm.
get one drum, then I can hit the rest of them. It's no big deal.
Yeah. It's so funny about Art. Him and I know each other from the Winds of Play days.
Oh yeah.
That's when him and I met each other. And there were a bunch of times this year when he would like look left and he would like, and I was like, yeah, it's me.
You're like, hello.
Uh huh. Yeah, there were a bunch of times like this year he would just like look over and be like, and I was like, yep, it's me.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
remember, what
it's,
was it? That
oh,
one
what were you
show
going
and
to
you
say?
just sent me a message during the show and just said, because I had pulled my phone out, I'd take pictures of Art and shit when he's playing and videos. And you went, look left. I was like,
Exactly. Well, I did promise some more drum tech, so I want to talk a few more techie questions just to
sure,
give
sure.
some good knowledge before we head out. So I just do love that Vinny made you take it apart, put it back together, take it apart, put it back together. But
Mm-hmm.
what are skills that someone needs to learn and practice if they want to be a touring drum tech, guitar tech, or sound guy?
First thing foremost is I would say know your artist and always give them exactly what they want, without fail. And if they change something on you last minute, be prepared because it will happen. You need to be able to roll with the punches. Every venue is going to be different, even though they may look the same on the outside. They're not. Be ready to work with unions in various areas as well because some of them are sticklers for their shit. And you got to kind of like let the union do their thing. and or else they will walk and take every fucking hand with them. That's a whole other long story. But the learn your instruments, even if you don't play them per se, or you're not very good at it. Just learn everything you can about it and tend to their needs. You know, you got to keep stuff clean, look out for rust. You know, make sure that if it's guitars, you got to look for make sure you're not fraying out wires or connections are bad or whatever. So you got to know all of that kind of shit. Just get to know your instruments on a more intimate level and take care of business. You start getting to a point where you start seeing problems before they happen. You know, they will happen and shit's going to go wrong, but how quick are you going to be able to deal with it without losing your shit? You just got to be confident and know what you're doing and be on point. That's pretty much it.
There you
Just be
go.
on point, be ready to go.
And I've seen some videos where guitar techs or bass techs, is it common for them to replace strings every single day
Mm-hmm.
to go
Yeah.
in? Is that what they're supposed to do? Like, are you supposed
Yeah.
to replace strings every single day? That way they don't pop on stage.
Yeah. It depends on your performer too, because it's whatever the artist wants. If they want you to change them daily, there's some I've met where they're like, you know, hey, change them out every third show. But this is somebody that might not be as animated, so they might not sweat a lot. But if you've got somebody that is all over the stage and they're sweating their ass off and all that
A
sweat's getting
heavy
onto the
sweater.
strings, yeah, a heavy sweater,
If you have a
it's gonna
heavy
fuck them
sweater.
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you got a heavy sweater, then you're gonna want to change those strings a lot.
Gotcha.
So because it'll fuck them all up. Plus, you got to take care of the neck and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's changing them on a daily basis is very common thing.
Gotcha. I
Mm-hmm.
thought it would be great to ask what will get you hired immediately and what will get you fired immediately.
There's a myriad of
He
shit that'll get you
laughed,
fired
yay.
immediately. Yeah, yeah. There's a myriad of shit that'll get you fired immediately. Hired immediately. I really don't know. I mean, it's one, you got to be good at what you do. They got to be looking for it first and foremost. You can't just, there's a lot of guys out there would love to have the work and love to be involved in the industry, but they don't quite have a spot yet, or maybe something isn't open. You know, the first thing I would tell people is go and get as much local experience as you can and work with some other bands, at whatever level. And then once you've got that and it becomes like a word of mouth thing. Hey man, I can't do this gig, but this guy can cover it. And the artists are like, do you trust him? Like, yeah, they'll come in and they'll do it. And they just might take your gig. You never know. But it's worth it to give it a shot and be on point and be ready at all times. So if that opportunity does come up, presents itself, you can jump on it, which is
Yeah.
great. As far as things that'll get your ass fired, if you show up drunk, if you show up, do sloppy work, if you aren't taking care of your business or taking care of your instrument or your artist, if you're just lazy, shitty, you know, self-absorbed, if you just suck as a human, that'll get you fired. So
Got it.
don't suck as a human
There you
is
go.
my advice.
Yeah. I just randomly remembered this really funny story about Josta talking about when they fired their drummer. And it was a festival show and he went off with a girl and then got stuck in traffic and didn't make the show
Oh,
to play.
Jesus. That'll do it. Yeah. You fuck up and get like that, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I just remembered this really funny story. And speaking of Josta, one thing about Lamb of God, Josta always talks about on his podcast, he's like, okay, who's going to be the next big four? Who's going to be the next big four? And he really talks about Lamb of God as the main band to be the next one, the next uprising of the next big four in our genre.
Right.
Agree or disagree?
Agree. And not
Yeah.
just because I work for them, just because they have that. They have, they've got they got the catalog. They still have the performance. They have everything you need to be in that category. They are that level. And I
Yeah.
don't see any reason why they shouldn't be.
Yeah. Who else do you think belongs in there?
Um,
Well,
there's
Pantera, of
so
course.
many.
Like, Pantera came back. We forget that Pantera is back in our world again
Yeah,
with
yeah,
touring.
yeah.
Like, I almost forgot for a second. I'm like, okay, well, Pantera's obvious. And that's how much of a gift Pantera is coming back, because we didn't
Right,
have it. So it's a gift. So no one should
right,
complain about it. They should only be happy about it. I'll shut up.
right.
Go on.
No, but I would say that though, if they were to continue on, then that would be, one of them as well.
Yeah.
The other two, that's a damn good question. I'm
Isn't
gonna have to
it?
think on that and get back to you. I have to
No.
write a little essay.
I know.
Go, here
I'm
you
thinking about it
go.
too. Wait, I'm thinking, and I'm having a hard time too. But no, let's do it. Let's finish it out, and that's how we'll end.
Let's see. I'd
So
love to
let's
see
think of
Hatebreed.
two. Oh yeah,
I'd absolutely love that. That would be
yeah.
fantastic.
I would love that.
Who would be the fourth? Who would be the fourth?
And they're so universally loved. Like being on, like I love hate. I love Hatebreed, and
Mm-hmm.
being on Headbangers Boat really showed like how much Hatebreed is just universally. Everyone loves Hatebreed. No one.
Right,
It's
exactly.
No one can be mad about Hatebreed. Everyone loves Hatebreed.
I think if Taylor Swift went metal, she'd be the fourth one.
No.
Kidding. I'm kidding.
Girl, she wouldn't
Oh,
know how. But I'd let but Lady Gaga could, and I
yeah,
love
Lady
Lady
Gaga could.
Gaga.
Yeah,
Yep.
that would be awesome. I'd be cool with that.
Okay, this is how we'll end. Let's add one or two, whatever, female fronted to the top four. Let's just have fun. Ginger's good. I guess Spirit Box.
Yeah, they're great.
Who
I'm still
else?
a huge fan of Lizzie Hale, so
You are?
she's always she's always been awesome. The Hailstorm's always been a favorite of mine, just because. Well, I remember like being I forgot where we were, some festival somewhere. I think it was fucking. It might have been Austin, might have been Houston. No, it was Houston. And we're like doing the Jaeger stage out in the parking lot. This is when I first got out with, Hell Yeah. And as soon as we finished, it was like just the way the time slots ran. Hailstorm was right after us. So we hit the downbeat last note. Everybody, yeah. And right as it started to go, all you hear is this scream. Wah! And it was Lizzie on the inside of the amphitheater.
Yeah.
Just one note. That's how she started the set. And I was just like, holy fuck. And then from
Yeah.
then on, it was just like, fan. I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine in the country scene today. We were talking about how when artists first come out and they have their idea of what they want for a song, and they're like, "No, it's got to be like this." And then you got like a record exec or whoever producer or somebody comes around and goes, "No, we're going to do it like this." And if you want to fucking play ball, this is how you're going to do it. And you're like, "Motherfucker, all right, fine."
Exactly.
So they
And
do it.
it won't see the light of day,
Yeah, but
otherwise.
that's the killer side, is that once they've been in the business so long, they can come back and re-release it the way they want to do it. They did what they
Yeah.
had to do to get out there. Now it's time to put this fucker back on the map the way it's supposed to be. And you just might see that happen. It'd be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Famous last words. What are they for you?
Famous last words? Fuck it. Fuck it.
Oh,
And
don't be silly. That's not you. You're a very
no,
kind and caring person. Your last words aren't fuck it. Come on.
no, but
No.
what I mean by fuck it is that if there's something that you want to do in life, or somebody's told you, you'll never be able to do this, or, you'll never give it a shot, fuck it. Do it anyway. I mean, because that's what you should do. Life is there. You get one run at this. There's not well, someday I'm going to do this, or someday I'm going to do that. That's fine if you've got a plan for someday. Like if you got, okay, well, 5 years down the road, here's what my goals are. And then every day you work towards those goals and finish it. But unless you say fuck it and actually start it, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
So fuck it. Go do it right now. Go fucking start. Make it happen. You got to do it. As far as my last words, I don't have any, because I'm never last at words. It's just my shit just